The Pakistan Cricket Board has dropped Babar Azam, Shaheen Afridi and Nasim Shah. I feel like there should be a punchline there, but there's not. I mean, it's a little bit like putting a cherry on top of a crashed plane and thinking your job there is done. Oh yeah, that'll fix the years and years and decades of mismanagement, rash decisions, political interference, amateur thinking, random coaching changes, captain sacked without even leading in a game, overhauls of selection committees, decision makers who don't watch any domestic cricket, the constant search for saviours, regional biases, hiring a part-time coach, wanting a local legend to do the job, wanting an overseas coach to make it work, a lack of a scouting network, no general manager or high performance thinking at all, trying to copy another much smaller country's domestic setup, obsessing over everyone's wage, loving outsiders, hating outsiders, embracing unpredictability and chaos as a style, years without a home for international games, and letting the public know which one of your players has genital warts. But this time, there's one decision. Dropping your three most talented players after a very embarrassing loss. This'll do it, right? This'll fix all of that stuff I just said. All those underperforming cricketers will look at this and decide, well, now they really have to pull up their socks. Now that they know that even their best players can be dropped midway through a series, all the other problems of Pakistan's cricket's clusterfuck will magically disappear. You can see them all now at the PCB, cackling around a cauldron, knowing that they have finally achieved something. They've solved Pakistan cricket, and all they needed to do was drop someone. Why had they never thought about that before? Finally, Pakistan cricket has done it. After all the mistakes and nonsense, the chaos and infighting, the shenanigans and broken promises, they've found the secret key to winning, dropping everyone at once. In terms of Pakistan cricket, I think we know this. Chaos is the law of nature. Order was the dream of man.
This was made using MV Play's Insights. The same technology that supports the England and New Zealand Test players is available to club cricketers as well.
Honestly, I don't know how you evaluate 30 runs from 71 balls on a pitch where the first two innings returned 1,379 runs for 17 wickets. There were times when Babar Azam's balance and timing looked better, and others where I wasn't as sure. Then the second new ball arrived. Chris Woakes bowled two deliveries. One moved away and one came back in. So Babar got two in a row on a pitch where sideways movement was rare. I mean, rare's being friendly here. And for the first one, it angled in and then darted away, beating the outside edge just near the top of off stump. The next ball, Babar was worried about necking off, so he moves across his stumps to negate the last ball, but this time Woakes bowls fuller and the delivery actually seems the other way. And this sequence basically highlights all of Babar Azam's issues in one go. He's terrified of edging the ball into the cordon, so he overcompensates by planting his front foot to off stump, which brings about his new biggest problem, the LBW. And let's be honest, these were two very hard balls to play back to back for any player. One went away near the top of off and the other came back near the top of leg. But he misplayed both of these deliveries. And what's worse is that in his second innings, he edged the ball behind, meaning in one match, he succumbed to both of his issues at the same time. But was this test any worse than any of the others? I mean, he's been in this form for quite a while now. Were there signs that he was done and that you had to move on from him? I don't think so. If anything, I was looking at it thinking he looked slightly better. But if Pakistan were going to drop him, and no player should ever be beyond that, they needed to do it in the correct way. Mid-test series is the worst possible option. The best way would have been to say, we're not going to pick you for the England series. We want you to go away and come back when you are 100% ready. Because dropping a player mid-series comes with weight and panic. And now every single Pakistani player knows that they are under pressure too. That is not the environment to get the best out of a team that just got their faces slapped so hard that they are currently faceless. And the other issue is the most obvious one. And India had the exact same thing with Virat Kohli, who in Test cricket had an even longer slump than Babar Azam did. If you drop a player of that level, you are picking your 7th best batter to replace them. The chances of that player being much better than Babar Azam are pretty slim. But let's say he makes 20% more runs than Babar over the next few test matches. Does that fix all the other issues that you create by dropping a player of this level in this manner? And the answer is almost always no. Now, maybe the new batter comes in and he makes 100 right away. That is the best case scenario. But here's the real issue. What if he fails in the next few matches after that 100? He was the savior, and now he's the problem. And this newer player suddenly knows that he can be dropped because that's what happened to Babar Azam. If there is no system, and there is no predictability, and there is no security, everyone is always going to feel under maximum pressure. So my point when looking at Babar Azam getting dropped is, even if this works, it still doesn't. Which, if it were in Latin, would be Pakistan cricket's motto. 2 more very highly talented players were dropped as well. Now, we already know that Pakistan cricket is having their worst ever bowling run at home. In fact, I don't know if anyone's ever done more work on it than we have over the last couple of weeks. I mean, we didn't need Harry Brook handcuffing the Pakistani bowlers to chairs and shaving their heads to know that this was a thing. But we also know that this was the first time that they had their 3 best bowling options together playing at home in this recent run. But this was also a wicket at which Pakistan could score really quickly against England, and then England would score 800 runs off 150 overs to be able to put any pressure back on Pakistan. When it's a pitch like that, you expect your bowlers to struggle, like pretty much all of them. Having said that, it would be hard to have watched them bowl in this match and suddenly think the good times are coming. But did Nazim Shah really bowl that poorly? According to us, he created the 2nd most mistakes on this wicket. Yes, he took 2 for 157 at more than 5 runs and over. There's no nice way of reading those numbers, is there? However, in the first innings, Gus Atkinson took 2 for 99 at 4 runs and over. All things are relative here. I found it hard to watch him bowl in this game and think to myself, do you know what? Pakistan probably have a better prospect to come in and have bowl ahead of him. It's just not true, is it? But they also dropped Shaheen Afridi. Now, I would argue that he hasn't been fully fit since the 2022 World Cup final. He's played 154 matches in his career, and 50 of them have come since. So basically a third of his career matches in 2 years when he just doesn't look fully fit at any stage. And he still has great skills, but he's clearly slower now, and he's gone from being a devastating impact bowler to someone who just chips in and is more than handy on occasion. And his biggest issue right at the moment seems to be in test matches. He's only played in 6 of them, but he has been pretty horrible all the way through. So I actually have no issue dropping him. But again, there was nothing in his recent form that suggested that Shaheen Afridi was about to tear up Test cricket. But the bigger issue here is really that he hasn't been right for some time. So there is no point him just being dropped from this game and then us watching him go and play another game that doesn't mean anything. All things considered, this is still a generational talent. You don't get left arm fast bowlers of this skill and height and pace all that often. So look after him. Maybe, I don't know, don't play him in 3 T20s against Ireland or a New Zealand third 11, for instance. Make sure that Shaheen Afridi is peak Shaheen Afridi, because that is the person who isn't going to allow 830 runs to be scored against you. This version, I think, might be. Do you know the worst thing about all of these selection decisions? It's that we knew it was coming. There at some point during Pakistan's collapse, Ramiz Raja was on the commentary and he was saying that the team was selecting people based on their reputation. It was the darkest foreshadowing. Anyone who's followed this team for a few years, or decades, had their spidey senses tingling, right? They knew that they were going to do this again. The 2 things that Pakistan cricket does most consistently is look for saviors and look for scapegoats. There is no doubt that their 3 most talented players are not playing particularly good cricket. But to think that that is the reason that all of this has happened without looking at the fact that Ramiz Raja was in charge of Pakistan cricket when this actually started. I have said this before and I will say it again. You find me a single Pakistan administrator who's in better form than Babar Azam is at the moment, and I'll shut up. On our podcast with Shoaib Malik the other day, he defended the PCB's current direction. He said, things are moving in the right direction, even though it may not look like it. This isn't the right direction. I'd question whether this is even a direction at all. It is just the normal chaos. What Pakistan cricket needs is structure, professionalism, and predictable outcomes. But isn't that what they have always needed? Instead, let's just drop the 3 most talented players midway through a series. That'll do it. But I also think cricket fans in general play into all of this, right? We fetishize Pakistan's unpredictability, and it's cool when it plays out in a game. But let's be honest, when it happens off the field, it's absolute shit. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the problem isn't the PCBs panicking. Maybe they should panic more, harder. Maybe they should drop the entire team and replace them with secondhand Lego figures and drawings from the grandkids of PCB stuff. Maybe they should decide on selection not using AI but a 20-sided dice, or by asking people to rate the players based on who's the hottest in their app. I mean, it doesn't really matter, right? Pakistan Cricket has been dealing with this chaos forever. And yet they still manage to occasionally, I don't know, channel it or organize it or make it work for them a little bit. Like, if you told me that it's possible within the realms of all my cricket knowledge for the team I just saw to beat England in the next test match, it obviously isn't, right? It just isn't. But if you ask me if it is possible for Pakistan to win within the multiverse of Pakistan cricket madness, it clearly is. So drop them all. Fuck it. Do it every game. Don't mess around. Truly embrace all levels of the chaos. Stop pretending this is even about the sport of cricket at all. This is a public experiment in how much anarchy you can fit into like a group of 11 people. It's performance art using arson. Pakistan Cricket is a rainbow of chaos. It just doesn't have a pot of gold at the end. I have a book out with Abhishek Mukherjee and it is called Overthrowing Cricket's Empire. And it's about the stories of how each team beat England for the first time. We go all the way back to the demon Fred Spofforth getting annoyed at W.G. Grace for acting a little bit like Alex Carey. And then we come all the way to present times with Rashid Khan's England's redemption. We cover every single team to beat England in a major international, but we also talk about the incredible stories like the barefoot basher from Fiji that almost played for New Zealand. In fact, this book is full of tales like that, like how Pakistan lost a top batter after he was on the run from an angry husband of a movie star he was having an affair with, and also how one future captain of his nation realised he might have to go out and bat at Lords and that he didn't own his own pads. Cricket was used as a tool by the empire, but what happens when those nations grow up and get good at it? Find Overthrowing Cricket's Empire on Amazon today.